Hi, welcome to my video. So in this video I'm going to be talking about me using Debian. This is Debian testing. So I am sticking with Debian, and the reason why I'm going to be sticking with Debian is because I'm tired of being on rolling release systems that basically always updates. Of course, you're always getting, like the latest and greatest packages. So therefore, a lot of times the system has to reboot all the time. And I'm a person that likes to play video games, and I like to stream games on my other computer as well. And I don't always constantly like to restart my computer while I'm gaming. So the less I have to restart the computer, to me, is good. I like to have a system that has, a very long uptime, and I don't like to reboot my system unless I really have to reboot the system. That's with kernel updates and probably desktop updates, stuff like that. But I just want to. It's been a while I haven't used Debian. I've been using I used to use Debian. Was like one of my first, well, actually it is my first distribution that basically made me stick with Linux full time. Like actually install it, used it, and like not depend on any other system. I just used Debian. Like back then I only had one computer, so it's neither I use Windows or I use Linux, and so Debian was a good distribution for me because it wasn't as complicated, or I guess it made more sense to me when it came to installing the system, as to other distributions were kind of complicated, especially Gen 2. But before Gen 2 even existed, that's what I used, Debian. So I used Debian a lot over the years. It's been a while I hadn't touched for it lately, but I've been pretty much last 3 years I've been obsessing with, I always use roll and release, but off and on. But I was obsessing with roll and release a lot. Like the last 2 to 3 years, like that's all I wanted to use was roll and release. And I'm thinking, why do I want to use roll and release all the time? Like, I hate restarting my computer a lot. Roll and release, you're going to be restarting your computer a lot because you're going to get kernel updates, you're going to get major updates quickly or a lot faster than Debian. I'm on testing, by the way. I'm not using stable, but I'm using testing. So I'm on the testing branch. And my GNOME is GNOME 44.9, 45, and 46. Yes, it sounds funny when you hear me say that, right? But if you go to settings, go to system, you go to about, and if you go to system details, GNOME 46, GNOME 44.9. Nautilus is also 46, GNOME 46 Nautilus. It uses the kernel 6.9.9, which is not that far behind like NixOS when it came to roll release. Even Gentoo, it's like 6.10. This is 6.9. It's almost 6.10. So it's not far off. So this is on my Asus B550 Prime Plus system. No, it's not my Dell computer, but I did basically wiped off NixOS and I replaced it with all with Debian testing. And I'm going to stay with Debian. And the reason why I choose Debian is because it's stable, it's secure. All the packages are, they're checked. They got a big audit, and it's probably one of the most secure system that Linux. It's actually pretty good. It reminds you a lot like it reminds you of like FreeBSD and with the security of OpenBSD. It has that sort of feeling. It has that server kind of feeling when it comes to like stable, not like bleeding edge, but they're solid packages. And I always was a person that really loved to keep my computer on, like uptime, like having it like months and days, like many days, like in the hundredth days, like my system not being shut down. You know what I mean? I used to use FreeBSD, and I used to have it up for like 2 or 3 months without even rebooting the system, and only upgrade it when it needs to be upgraded. And you can do this with Debian, more with Debian stable. Debian testing, there are going to be some updates, but it's not going to be frequently like Arch Linux. Arch Linux is pretty bad. That's why I stopped using Arch Linux, because I like roll and release, don't get me wrong, but I actually forgot why I like to use like Unix systems, and it's because I like to keep my system up. I always get annoyed by Windows always updating, rebooting, and I want a solid system. I want software. I don't really need the latest software. I want software that's going to be stable. Like this system that I'm using, it is the older GNOME, or the older GNOME shell, but it's still GNOME. It still works good. It actually works really good. Like I noticed, like installing Debian is very fast and it's pretty good. Also, setting it up it's fantastic. It's the same. I use the classic installer, which is the the Ncurses based one, and it's the same installer that I used like 24 years ago. It has not changed. But yeah, so. Yeah, I'm back on Debian. I'm going to stick with Debian. I like it. I will be trying out other systems, but it'll be in a VM, which is what's really good about Debian. It's really good with virtualization as well. Debian's a good system. I just think it's solid, it's stable, it's secure. I always like Debian. It's been a long while I haven't used it. And honestly, I figured out like what annoys me a lot: drama, all this DEI stuff with Linux, like Fedora, Arch Linux, and NixOS, and all this stuff. Like it's too much politics, too much woke stuff in it. Like I don't know. Debian, no one bothers Debian. Debian is just Debian. It's the universal operating system. And it's just Debian. Debian's cool, and they don't focus on politics. They just focus on Debian. They're focused on Debian, and they're focused on keeping it stable and secure and a great system for everybody to use. And I love it. I think Debian has always been one of my. I always had the best respect for Debian, and to be honest, it's my favorite system. If I'm gonna say what is my favorite operating system of all time. If I had to choose every single operating system that I use and say that what is my favorite and best operating system I ever use, throughout, throughout the time that I use computers, I would say Debian, GNU Debian for sure, hands down. It is the best operating system ever. And why I use other operating systems, because I like to test around different things and see what's going on. Sometimes I just get obsessed with different types of systems for a while. But I do miss, Debian. I just love Debian. I had, even when I was not using Debian, I always will say I respect Debian. And I actually personally love this system a lot. It's my favorite operating system. It works so good, and that's all I want. I just want a good system. I don't really need the latest GNOME. I used to be like that, but now I'm using this GNOME here. It's an older GNOME, but it works good, and it's fine. It's nothing wrong with it, and all the applications that I use on Linux, it works good. I don't know. testing's not bad. It's not like very outdated stuff. You know, it's like between rolling and it's between stable. Like it's right there. Like it's actually the best place I want to be with a system. And Debian testing to me is the sweet spot for me, man. And I'm gonna stick with Debian. Yep. And I'm sure like one of my old buddies, old mate, he's gonna be happy that I'm using Debian. I mean, I've always been a big fan of MX Linux and other like Debian-based distributions, but I really I just like pure Debian testing. Yeah, that's where I'm at, man. No more NixOS, no more Arch Linux, or I don't hate them. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of drama and politics through all this. A lot of woke stuff with all these distributions, just because they're popular and everybody uses like literally everybody. Like all the nerds will use these systems, Arch and NixOS. I think NixOS is kind of dying. They're trying to kick out the founder, which is not good. I'm not saying Nix is dead, but if they do kick him out, like the project it's gonna hurt the project. The project's already hurt right now. We don't see it now because it's still early, but eventually the project's gonna. It's gonna. I don't know. I see something. I don't see Nix going anywhere as much in the future. Sorry to say, that's just the way I feel. I could be wrong. Hopefully, I am wrong. I don't want Nix to go away, but to me, I don't have much faith in the system. Arch Linux, that ain't going away, but once again, there's just too much politics with Arch Linux as well. Too much, there's too much people with Arch. I know I'm probably gonna get flamed by this. Like, there's just Arch Linux, man. I mean, people that use Arch Linux, people that know it's the community, you know what I'm talking about. I don't have to explain anything. Like, let's be real here. Like, Arch Linux, come on, it's a hell of a system. I'll tell you that. But it's not a bad system. I use Arch Linux for many years, okay? And I love Arch Linux, but it's too much for me when it comes to updating. I don't like to update my shit all the time. And I get the people that likes that kind of model with their system, but for me personally, I'm all about staying uptime. And you can also set up Debian with ZFS, but it'd be nice if they would include that with their installer, like what FreeBSD does. So if any Debian developer is watching this, can you please include open ZFS file system in part of you have all the other file systems, but there's no ZFS. You have XFS, which I'm using XFS, of course. You'll see right there on my video. Right here, you'll see I'm using XFS. But I would like to use ZFS, but I mean, you can do it manually. You can set it all up. It does have drivers for it and all that. Debian supports ZFS, but it's not included with the installation. So that'd be a good idea, to include in the future, maybe. Include or add in ZFS. ZFS is a very good file system. Even if you're not even using it for a server, it's a good file system as a whole. Why do you think FreeBSD uses that? So it's a good file system, and I just think that they should include it with the installer. Well, anyways, thanks for the watch, guys. Have a good one. Cheers.